At that point, once we did, we immediately set about changing our Amber Alert from just an East Tennessee to a statewide Amber Alert at that point.
How did the TBI find out that they had been in Nashville at that gas station at 2:30?
We received notification from FBI.
So a reporter was able to get the information faster from Florida than the TBI, another agency, was?
Those would be questions you'd need to address to Florida. We certainly wish that there would have been additional information that would have been presented to us on the front end, because it might very well have changed the decisions that we've made. But let me say this, again, we did everything we could with the information that we had at the respective times to make the smartest, most effective decision that we could. Initially, there was no indication that this child was in Tennessee. There was no indication that the man she was believed to be with had any kind of criminal history in terms of information coming from the state of Florida to us here at TBI. So we had no justification in our minds to issue an Amber Alert at that point. Once the situation changed, once we had that possible credible sighting in Upper East Tennessee, then yes, we set about issuing an East Tennessee Amber Alert, because we don't know at that point if they're traveling or if they're camped out in that area. Then when we had the information about the Nashville area nexus, that certainly changed the situation for us and escalated it even further. We're confident again in the way we handled this.
How much trouble is it to go from a partial alert to a statewide alert?
We're able to move that along pretty quickly. It just requires making a few phone calls, changing some web language, and of course trying to push that out to media in those respective markets.
So confirmation at 9:30, the alert hit my phone at 12:10.
Right.
So why did
The
it
gap
take
there?
yeah.
Sure. We actually issued the statewide Amber Alert right around 11 in the morning. It's important to note when we do that, Larry, it's not like just pushing one button that exists here at TBI headquarters. There's a lot of different steps that go into it. So to move from a regional to a statewide Amber Alert in 60 to 90 minutes is pretty good timing for us. We would love for it to be faster, but there's just a lot of steps that have to fall into place. As for the notification on your cell phone and people who got that at home, it's important to note the TBI does not send out those cell phone alerts. That's a secondary notification that comes from our partners at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
So
Does
back
the
to who
TBI
found
plan
out.
to change its policy?
I'll come back,
at
Kevin.
all?
No, not at all. We're confident again in the way we handled this
So
situation.
back to the Polk County Sheriff's Office finding out about them being at that gas station. They saw that they used an ATM card apparently at 2:30 yesterday morning. Are you saying that the Polk County Sheriff did not notify the TBI that they were in Nashville?
Well, it's important to note, Kevin, we don't know when Polk County found out about that either. So we don't know if they found out at 8 in the morning, notified FBI, and we find out a short time later. We just don't know. Those details are still being worked out in terms of the information that we're gathering here, but in terms of the timeline, as for what happened in Florida, you'd want to speak with them.
There's a 7-hour gap, though, in between when they were in Nashville and when you all first found out about it. There was a 911 call, actually, that went out at 4:40, so a 5-hour gap in between when police were notified in Nashville and when the TBI was notified. A 5-hour gap when a girl is in extreme danger, it just sounds like there was a major communication breakdown between multiple law enforcement.
We can only do what we do here at the TBI based on the information that we're given, is all I'll say to that. If there's any questions that you want to ask about the way information was sent to TBI, you'd need to address those to those respective agencies.
What do you say about the Polk County Sheriff? His criticism was very harsh,
It
very
was.
direct, like, newsflash, Tennessee, she was there. I mean, what
When we found out that she was, we took immediate action. The fact of the matter is, let's not forget, he called Tennessee, he called us here, his office, asking for an Amber Alert. We subsequently did what we would do in any out-of-state request. Do you have information that the child's here? No. Do you have information that the man that she's with has criminal history or that she might be in danger? No. We were told no on both counts. There was not information supplied to us that led us to issue an Amber Alert. Again, it is all about being as absolutely judicious as we possibly can, because we do not want the public to get Amber fatigue. If we issued an Amber Alert every single time an agency requested us to do so, we would be holding a very different news conference where you guys would be asking us about why we're sounding the alarm when missing kids out of Oklahoma are being recovered in Arkansas, for example. We have to be as absolutely careful as we possibly can based on the information available to us at specific points in time so that we don't unduly cause stress or panic amongst the public but at the same time get vital information to who we believe needs to see it at that particular time.
There was a person that spotted the man and the girl at the Shell station yesterday morning between 2 and 2:15. He called 911. Metro Police says that they responded. They searched for them in that area for an hour and a half. But both this 911 caller and Metro Police have said that they would have handled this situation with much more urgency had there been an Amber Alert issued in Middle Tennessee early yesterday morning. What's the response to that?
Well, again, we made the decision we did based upon the information that we had. And it's important to note, the TBI received information from Florida about this missing girl as early as Saturday, and we repeatedly turned that information around to law enforcement agencies all across Tennessee through our internal TIEs network, which is our internal law enforcement network here in the state of Tennessee. It was a BOLO situation that had been out to law enforcement since Saturday afternoon. So it's not like law enforcement didn't know about this situation.
Okay, so prior to even an Amber Alert, there was connection going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Law enforcement,
And
state law.
and that's not uncommon, Erica. We will often hear about missing children from other states that law enforcement agencies just put it out on the law enforcement communication network just in the off chance that there's travel that's happening. And we turn around that information to law enforcement agencies just to be on the lookout. It's called doing due diligence and making smart choices when it matters most.
On average, how many Amber Alert requests do you receive out of state?
Out of state,
Like maybe
Amber Alert requests a year?
it depends on the year.
Sure.
It depends on the year. It could be as few as one. It could be as many as a dozen.
Okay. So obviously it depends based on the particular year. It can average from 1 to 12, but we handle all of them the same way as we would handle an Amber Alert request that comes from a local Tennessee agency. We're going to ask a lot of the same questions. Where were they last seen? Do you have information they're here? Is the person that they're with dangerous? That influences the decisions that we make here internally. And it's important to note, there's been some question about, okay, so who makes those decisions here at TBI? The folks who make this decision sit on an Amber team, and they're some of the most experienced law enforcement officers that our state has, including the very people who helped found our state's Amber Alert program more than 15 years ago at this point. Our program is successful. Our program has strict rules, yes, but our program is ultimately designed to provide the public actionable information when it matters most and minimize the hysteria that can often come with missing children cases.
You guys handed this clearinghouse, but in the case of Florida, would you have to go through step 1, step 2, step 3, or since?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Would you guys go through each one of these steps,
Exactly.
like line for line, trying to verify Florida
Sure.
before you issue it?
It's a totality of the facts that come into play there. And so when a state clearinghouse will contact us and say, could you issue an Amber Alert? We're going to ask a lot of those same questions. We're going to try to determine a lot of that same information.
question for
Fundamentally, if you look in Part B there, a couple of things have to be in play. It's obviously got to be someone under the age of 18, someone who's a child. They've obviously got to be in imminent danger of serious bodily harm or death. And we have to have some specific identifying information about a vehicle, method of travel, mode of travel, etc.
Josh, you've mentioned panic several times.
Right.
Talk about that. What is their concern there?
Well, the concern is that we don't want people to unduly be stressed out or panicked about missing children's situation. We do want people to be alert, which is why it's called an Amber Alert. So that's why we target it the way that we do, so that a specific geographic area has specific information about a developing situation. If it rises to the point where it's a statewide situation and there's heavy travel that we've been able to verify, or we have reason to believe that everyone in the state of Tennessee needs to be on alert, we're going to issue a statewide alert. It's the best that we can do to be as judicious, as professional, as appropriate with these types of volatile situations.
Josh, we know that the TBI has received a lot of criticism, especially on social media.
Sure.
People in the community, the TBI has received criticism from other law enforcement
Sure.
on how this was handled. Now that we know that this was resolved, the girl is safe today.
Right.
Should the TBI have done anything differently looking back?
Not in our assessment, no. Again, we made the decisions that we did based on the information available to us at the time, comfortable with the decisions, and of course we're ecstatic with the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, because they almost got out of the state. I mean, they were, where they were captured, they almost made it out of Tennessee. Is that
Certainly.
concerning?
they did not get out of the state. They were seen by someone who had seen the information as presented in the Amber Alert. So ultimately, let's not forget that the Amber Alert that we ultimately issued statewide did contribute to their successful recovery. Anything else? Great. Thank you, folks. Have a good day.